Shalom family. Today we will be covering Genesis chapter 5. It is quite short in terms of info, but that is alright. So let's begin. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 1 reads, "This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him." So we see here that this is the book of the years of Adam, and in the appearance meaning likeness of the Most High he created him. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 2 reads, "Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created." So we see here that the Most High created their appearance as male or female, then he pronounced good upon them and named them both Adam in the first 1,000 years when they were created. Precepts are Genesis chapter 1 and verse 27, Genesis chapter 9 and verse 6, Mark chapter 10 and verse 6, which reads, "But from the beginning of the creation God made them male and female." Genesis chapter 5 and verse 3 reads, "And Adam lived 130 years, and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth." So here we see that after Adam lived 130 years he had another son which looked like him in appearance, and after his own gender meaning image, and he named him Seth. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 4 reads, "And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters." So we see here that Adam lived up to 800 years and had more children. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 5 reads, "And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died." Genesis chapter 5 and verse 6, "And Seth lived 105 years, and begat Enos." Genesis chapter 5 and verse 7 to 27 reads, 7. "And Seth lived after he begat Enos 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. 8. "And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died." 9. "And Enos lived 90 years, and begat Canaan. 10. "And Enos lived after he begat Canaan 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. 11. "And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died." 12. "And Canaan lived 70 years, and begat Mahalaleel. 13. "And Canaan lived after he begat Mahalaleel 840 years, and begat sons and daughters. 14. "And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died." 15. "And Mahalaleel lived 65 years, and begat Jared." Verse 16. "And Mahalaleel lived after he begat Jared 830 years, and begat sons and daughters. 17. "And all the days of Mahalaleel were 895 years, and he died." 18. "And Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch." 19. "And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. 20. "And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died." 21. "And Enoch lived 65 years, and begat Methuselah." 22. "And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years, and begat sons and daughters. 23. "And all the days of Enoch were 365 years." Genesis chapter 5 and verse 24 reads, 24. "And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." What does this mean? Well, according to Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 5 it reads, "By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him, for before his translation he had this testimony, that he pleased God." Precept, Ecclesiasticus chapter 44 in verse 16 reads, "Enoch pleased the Lord, and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations." What does it mean to walk with God? According to Deuteronomy chapter 8 and verse 6, "Therefore thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, and to fear him." This is what Enoch did. You can also find this in Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12, and Deuteronomy chapter 11 and verse 22. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 25 to 28 reads, 25. "And Methuselah lived 187 years, and begat Lamech." 26. "And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years, and begat sons and daughters. 27. "And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died." 28. "And Lamech lived 182 years, and begat a son." It made more sense to summarize this entire genealogy in order to get the meat of it. So that is what I did. Listen carefully. Seth had Enos, and all Seth's days were 912 years. Enos had Canaan, and all Enos' days were 905 years. Canaan had Mahalaleel, and all Canaan's years were 910 years. Mahalaleel had Jared, and all Mahalaleel's years were 895 years. Jared had Enoch, and all Jared's years were 962 years. Enoch had Methuselah, and all Enoch's years were 365 years. Methuselah had Lamech, and all Methuselah's years were 969 years. Lamech had Noah, and all Lamech's years were 777 years. And they all had sons and daughters before they died. Genesis chapter 5 and verse 29 reads, "And he called his name Noah, saying, This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed." So here we see that Lamech named his son Noah, for the meaning of the name was to comfort. And Lamech also prophesied that Noah would comfort them because of the curse that the Most High put on the ground for Adam's sake. You can find this in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 17. And after Lamech died at 777 years, Genesis chapter 5 and verse 32 reads, "And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth." So we see here that Noah had 3 sons. I hope this study was helpful to you. Feel free to let me know in the comments. Shalom.